are describing something, you make sure you give a good, you arrange them in a sequential manner so that the reader will not be confused when reading. Expository essay. The expository essay is aimed at giving explanations of facts about a given topic. It may include writing on the process of food making or other processes, and articles written in newspapers that argue points related to the topics being discussed and make judgment on such arguments. So expository essay most times give detailed information about a process. It does not necessarily have to do with narration. Most times it argues out some points and then eventually you arrive at a judgment. Hints on expository essay. It requires an introduction like other ones. You write an introduction to the topic you have chosen and then followed by the body, which contains your arguments, then your conclusion, which might be the summary or your evaluation. The introductory paragraph should be followed by the body, like I've said, which should contain main points and ideas that are sequentially arranged to affirm that your argument is real and convincing. The body should be followed by the concluding paragraph that will summarize and finalize the whole essay or article. Then generally, an expository essay must portray clarity, facts, short sentences, and formal language. So here you use the formal language, unlike the narrative essay where you have to use informal language to make your essay attractive and interesting. And lastly, you have to avoid the use of idiomatic expressions, slangs, clichés, and the other informal expressions in your essay. Argumentative essay. Argumentative essays are usually in form of debate. Debate in such a way that you have two opposing opinions or points to argue over. You could be given topics like teaching is better than farming, or rural life is better than urban life. So it is when you have two opposing opinions or points to argue over, then you would have to choose a side of the argument to speak on or to speak for and speak against the other one. So a writer has to write in support of one of the opinions and then speak against the other. In essence, argumentative essay is debative. You debate over a given topic. There are hints for writing argumentative essays. Argumentative essays, like other essays, should begin with an introductory paragraph. And like I've always said, introductory paragraph is very, very important in writing essay. Any type of essay you are writing, be it narrative, expository, descriptive, or argumentative, you have to start with an introduction which will give the reader or the audience an insight to the topic you are talking about. So argumentative essay should begin with an introductory paragraph that explains or defines the two concepts being argued upon. In essence, you should not just speak for your topic alone, you should also define the concept of the other topic you are speaking against, so that the audience will have a glimpse of what the two concepts are. You should define both concepts and then make your stand. You let us know which one you are speaking for. Then in the body of an argumentative essay, much emphasis on the concept you are arguing for should be laid. In the body, which should always follow an introduction, you should lay emphasis on the concept you are speaking for. You should make sure that the topic you are speaking for is spoken on in a broad manner. You talk on it, you expatiate more on the topic you are talking about, so that the audience or listeners or readers would have a very good idea of what you are speaking for. Then you should ensure that your points are real and convincing enough to back up your argument. Do not bring abstract points to back up your argument. You should look for concrete reasons why you feel your audience should be convinced that what you are speaking for should be accepted or should be adopted. Then you should maintain the point you are arguing for and do not deviate from it. At times, while some people are arguing, they tend not to gain balance. in their arguments. They swing from one point to the other, from one point to another. They might be speaking for teaching and at the same time speaking for farming. This is not a good manner or a good way of writing or speaking for a topic in an argumentative essay. You have to make a stand. You have to stand on one side and then speak against the other. So in essence, you should always be sure and then be very firm in your arguments. You have to support one and then oppose the other. Do not support the two at a time. Even though you might have a good idea of the advantages of the other one, but because you have chosen one against the other, you have to speak for one and then leave the other one without talking about the advantages. Your points against the motion or in support of a motion should not be less than 3 points. When you are arguing, when you are writing an argumentative essay, you should always ensure that your points for or against is not less than 3 points. You should not write 2 points and conclude within your mind that you have written an argumentative essay. You should write at least 3 points against or in support of a motion. Reading comprehension. Reading comprehension has to do with testing students' ability to read, process, and understand a given passage. So in essence, when you are given a reading comprehension or a comprehension passage, the aim of the supervisor, of the examiner, is to test your ability to comprehend a given passage, process it, and come out with your own interpretation. Students are called to be creative in reading comprehension. You should also be multifaceted and proficient in the use of English language so as to recognize words quickly and effortlessly. Most times, students' ability to recognize words are often tested in reading comprehension. Your ability to recognize words and the essence of such words in the environment they are found in is always important here. A vast prior knowledge of the subject matter of a passage is very helpful in reading comprehension, meaning that you should be a very good reader so that you can be able to have a good understanding of any given comprehension passage. So you are all to read wide, to read intensively, so that whichever topic is given to you in a reading comprehension passage, you would always have an idea of what the passage is, even if you don't have a total understanding or total idea of what the passage is about. You have a glimpse of what it is. Then you should then build your vocabularies and usages in different contexts. It is very important that you have a very good use of English vocabularies. You should have a very good number of vocabularies in your memory, so that when a word is brought out of a passage and you are asked to give the meaning and the implication of the word in the context or in the environment where it appears, you'll be able to answer such questions. Students will also be able to read, understand, interpret, and explain the content of the passage. You are also expected to be able to read, understand, interpret, and explain the content of the passage. Approaches to reading comprehension. When you are given a reading comprehension passage, I would urge you to follow these steps. The first step is that you should not be hurried to answer comprehension questions. At times, some students are always in haste to answer questions, in the sense that they jump at questions and start answering them because they feel the time is not on their side or for some other reasons best known to them. So you should not be in a hurry to answer questions that follow comprehension passages. Without reading and digesting the passage, you should not at all touch any question. Take time to read, understand, interpret, and note portions of the passage you feel could be informative. So any part of the passage that you feel could be informative or could be helpful to your questions, to your answers, make sure you try as much as possible to pay much attention to them. read them properly, understand them, interpret them in your own way, and then note them. You can mark them so that you'll be able to get back to them easily. Another thing is read the passage painstakingly to ensure you grab the subject matter of the passage. Still on the same point, not being in haste. Read the passage very well. Read it in such a way that you'll be able to grab the subject matter. At times you could be given passages without topics, and eventually you could be asked to supply the topic, a suitable topic to such passages. So you should always pay attention to such passages. Reread the passage for the second time in order to note some key points or messages of the passage, which from your understanding you feel could be relevant to some questions. So you have read the passage for the first time. For the second time, read it again so that the understanding you have got in the first reading will be built upon when you read it again. So in the first reading, you might not have a full understanding of the passage, but by the time you read it again, you will be able to get more ideas from the passage. After reading the passage for the second time, read the question and try as much as possible to memorize some of the questions. The essence of memorizing the question is that when you are reading again for the third time, you'll be able to pinpoint those areas where you have where the answers may likely lie. For example, at times when you read the passage and you have read the question before reading the passage again, you could see an aspect of the question in the passage, and then by the time you see that aspect, you'll be able to tick or underline such place and then find solution to the answer to the question you've seen. Then, after mastering the questions, you read the passage again for the third time, and then this time the reading is quite faster and more attention is paid to the passage. So when you are reading for the third time, the reading is faster than the first and second. Then more attention is paid to the passage in the sense that you are reading to look out for answers. After that, you go to answering the comprehension passage. The answer must be written in sentences. At times, some people would write in just few lines, in few words, incomplete sentences. Make sure you write in full sentences. To show that you understand the subject matter, use